Welcome to Spotlight Hustle. My name is Natalia, Nicholson, and I am the founder of Women in Digital Business. Spotlight Hustle is a podcast that I really wanted to bring out, and we want to grow this and we want to build it. So please do make sure that you click the subscribe button, and if you do find this content of interest, please do make sure you share it. But we created it to create a space where we could highlight the successes of Black women rocking it in the online space, in the business world, in the entrepreneurism world, not just online. It's really important that we are able to see images of ourselves and see other women that come from similar backgrounds actually doing what we want to do. I think that's so key, because without that, sometimes it just makes the road really hard. It's like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get there? You know, it doesn't happen to people like me. We have a lot of limited self-beliefs, rightly or wrongly, and sometimes they're there in the back of our head and we don't realise that they're holding us back. And by hearing about inspiring stories, by looking at people that have done what we want to do, similar to what we want to do, have got similar stories, have gone through resistance, come out the other end. You know, many a times this entrepreneur journey, it can feel like someone has literally got their hand on your forehead and you're running as fast as you can and you're sweating and you're out of breath, but you're just not where you want to be because it just feels like you're not moving. And sometimes we need to give ourselves a break, and this podcast is brought to you by the Women in Digital Business team because we feel it's really important that we show you women that have done it, especially those from the diaspora, especially those from the Black culture. And I speak a lot about culture, and it's not because I'm trying to alienate anyone. That's just my tribe and community. Those are my experiences. I'm going to share my experiences so we can build a community of women that are just rocking it. Let's get started. So I really want to look at branding and how important building a brand is. And there's a documentary that I just feel like it should just be featured so much more. It just gives you this warm, nice, fuzzy feeling, and it makes you so proud to be a woman of colour, and just look at our journey and look at adversity and just see the success stories that come from it. And just makes you realise anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible. But we have got to get over that hurdle of putting ourselves out there. You know, this isn't comfortable for me. I'm definitely someone that prefers video over, say, writing blogs. You know, being dyslexic doesn't really fill me with much joy having to write blogs and articles. But at the same time, you know, when it comes to coaching, teaching, that's my skill set, so I can do video. But it's still nerve-wracking putting yourself out there for criticism, putting yourself out there with thoughts and opinions that you can easily get torn down for. It's not an easy thing to do. And sometimes you just got to get over it. You really just have to get over it and delve into it and just do it. Because otherwise you will just keep finding excuses of why you don't want to put yourself out there, why you don't want to be on social media, you know, why you don't want to put yourself under a microscope for people to see maybe your flaw or any of your flaws. And do you hear what I said? All of your flaws? I didn't mean that. But the point is, we've all got flaws. None of us are perfect. And I feel like more as Black women, if we can come into these spaces and we can put ourselves out there, you know, everything that we want. You know, Shakespeare says what you imagine on the screen of your brain, your imagination, is about what's about to happen. So, you know, we've just kind of got to do it. We just got to get it done. But please do put in the comments if you're someone that feels, you know, really, really apprehensive and fearful about putting content out there. And I think if you are going to be building a membership site and community site, it's going to be really hard to get around that. But let's look at branding brilliance. Let's look at the amazing documentary called She Did That. That's what we're going to be speaking about today. So let's take a little clip and find out more about She Did That and what it's all about.
You're asking me to print out agendas? I'm done.
You don't get to diminish my hard work.
The banks are not as excited to give us money.
The backlash was, we're selling out. Well, there you go. That right there is a clip of the new documentary, She Did That, produced by this woman right here, Renee Blewitz. Hello.
Good morning.
Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
She did that. You kind of have to say it. Like, that's how you say it. You got to express the culture.
You have to. And everyone says it differently, right? I love to hear people say it.
I know. Okay. Is that how you say it?
Yes. Well, I just say she did that.
Okay.
Like, she did that.
Oh, did I
period.
put too much emphasis? So you went and you followed all of these amazing women, and you wanted to share their journeys, specifically women in the Black community. Why? Where did this come from?
Well, I've been blogging about Black women entrepreneurs for 10 years now. I have a blog called In Her Shoes. And in 2015, I decided that I wanted to go deeper into these stories. You know, on social media, we tend to see like the highlights and like the highlight reel of entrepreneurship. But I wanted to go deeper and find out like, what are the obstacles that these women are facing to get to where they are today? What are the opportunities that they have that are unique to them as Black women? So that is the purpose of the film. I really want to shine a light on what we're doing right now. We're making history.
Yes.
Literally in a 20-year period, Black women-owned businesses in this country have increased by 605%.
I love it. And I love
Yes.
that you're doing that because, like you said, that's what we see on social media. That's what we see with our celebrities. We see the lights, we see the cameras, we see the success.
Right.
But we don't see what kind of obstacles they had to overcome to get there.
There's so many sacrifices that Black women are making to build their businesses. First of all, we are doing a lot with the little. There's a huge funding gap that we talk about in the film. You know, there's just like a lot of balls that we're juggling at the same time. And I just want to celebrate these women. Like, we are really killing it right now.
She Did That was created by Renee Blewitz. It's an amazing documentary, as you can see from the introduction there. And if you can get a chance to watch it, please do. It was on Netflix, so it might come back to Netflix again. At the moment, you can get it from YouTube and other streaming sites, but I think it's chargeable. But watch out for it on Netflix, please, because, and Amazon Prime, it was on Netflix for a period when it first came out, and that is actually where I first watched it. But it's just full of so much innovation. I think for me, watching these women who had a dream, had a goal, and just didn't stop at anything is what really just made me really proud of Renee for putting this together. And it just made me feel proud of all the women that really showed vulnerability and just told their story, how it was. But it did highlight a lot of the obstacles that we all go through globally. Obviously, She Did That is based in America. I'm based here in the UK. But one thing we've got in common as a people is the fact that we are placed all over the world because of the Atlantic slave trade. So whether you're in Africa, you're in the Caribbean, you're in Asia, or, you know, you're in Europe, you're in the UK, Canada, or US, you know, we all have traveled over generations to get to the places that we are. And that's what makes us a little bit different. So what was so interesting for me is the similarities. So regardless of where you're placed in the world, we're up against a lot of the same obstacles. But the innovation just blew me away. Like the stories of women, and, you know, starting off either in their kitchen with hair and beauty products, being creative writers and really being able to express themselves and not be frightened of what people are going to say, because, you know, that is a thing. But it really brought home the importance of content and the importance of really putting yourself out there. You know, one of the ladies in there that created a website and community called My Fab Finance, her story really got me. Like, I felt that welling up, like I could so relate to her. She went through a horrible experience and she decided to turn that experience into a business to help other women. And now she's flying, but not only is she flying, she's serving a community that needs her help, and she's elevating them. And one of the things I love about this show is that each individual woman has got a story. And that story has fueled her to start that business. And I think when you're coming from a place of passion, you'll keep going. When we start businesses or we have business ideas or side hustles that aren't really our passion, sometimes it can feel really like, oh my gosh, it's still not working. And it's really difficult to keep pushing through, especially when those bumps in the road come. It's hard to, you know, see that end goal because you can lose sight of it. When something is a passion and a core and something has happened to you and you're you're like, hey, look, this is what I learned. This is how you can avoid this. And you become other people centered. I think that's where the magic happens. But we have to learn how to share, ladies. We have to learn how to share. It's really important for you to be able to build a community and build a following of people that get you and they get the solution that you're selling. And I think all of these women have got such powerful stories. Let's take a look.
So you're following 4 women specifically in this film. One of them is Lovey Ajayi, and she is a Chicagoan. She's a best-selling author, a speaker, and a digital strategist. So Melissa Butler, she is someone else that's also featured in the film. She was on Shark Tank, where all 4 of these millionaire investors said, no, this is a stupid idea. You should quit before you start.
Right.
And she did not. And here she is today. Aren't her products in like Target and stuff?
Her products are in Target.
Another one of the young ladies is Lisa Price. She's founder of Carol's Daughter. I don't know if you've seen. And then Tanya Rapley. She's founder of My Fat Finance, basically trying to help women get their finances together.
And speaking of stories, storytelling is really powerful. Storytelling is the one thing that's really going to get you noticed. It's not just about putting yourself out there and striking up that confidence to be able to go on video, and whether it's a webinar, a podcast, or it's blog writing, or it's doing social media posts, or it's having your own community doing Instagram lives or a Facebook group where you're communicating. It's not just about that. It's about being able to tell a story, and we all have a story. So if there's anything that I want you to take from this episode, is for you to really think, what is my story? Someone once asked me what makes you fascinating? And it's one of those questions that it got me. You know, when you go to answer something, you think, hang on a minute, let me have a little think about that, because I'm not quite sure what makes me fascinating. And really, in essence, that's your brand. Your business is born out of you. It's your brand. And when it comes to people understanding a brand, they want to understand your why. They want to hear your story. Because when people can connect with you and resonate with you through a story, that's when, okay, they're now interested in what it is that you've got to say. And they're going to become a loyal fan, or want of a better word, a loyal follower, which then goes to being a part of your community, and then goes into buying your products and services. So storytelling is so key. So one of the things that really stood out for me in this documentary, and let's take a look at it, is about branding and storytelling. How do we tell our stories? Let's not just hear about the stories, but actually, how do we tell our stories, and how do we make our stories become a profitable business?
We have so many amazing stories, so many amazing experiences in our community. And we live in a time where you don't have to wait for the green light from, the big TV studios, the big, production companies to give you the budget to tell your story. You can do it on your own. We have iPhone 11s, we have, social media. There are so many different platforms for us to tell our stories. And I just encourage us to go out and do it. And it's scary, especially if you're entering into a space that's new, the way I did it. But I encourage young women to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Let's take, for example, Lisa Price, Carol's daughter. I mean, I heard about Lisa Price. I heard about her product from, being in the community, listening, reading, and, I've always been just a big advocate. I absolutely love it. It's just like, oh my God, girl, it's just so amazing. But when I walked into Superdrugs, which is a big pharmacy store here in the UK, a bit similar to something like CVS maybe in America, and I saw Carol's daughter line of products, I was just like, girl, you've landed. It was just amazing to grow up with a product of knowing, I don't know her, but it felt like someone. It's like you're growing up with their story of, coming out of their kitchen, making the product, and, all the bumps on the road that go with it. I was following that story. So to see that brand blow up from, kitchen, making, your kitchen into a business, into seeing that in a chained store all across the UK and actually seeing it on the shelf. It was like, wow, it does give you that feeling of, what, I can do this. That self-belief is so, so, so important. Take these stories, use these stories to fuel you. But Lisa Price's story is really, really, really a truly inspiring one. Let's take a look.
Lisa Price. She's founder of Carol's Daughter. I don't know if you've
Yes.
seen this hair products in the stores, ladies.
Yes.
But tell me what makes her story so inspiring.
So the reason why I had to have someone like Lisa Price, and her specifically, is because she's been in the game now for 25 years. Their brand just celebrated their 25-year anniversary last year. And I just wanted to show, like, I think, again, with social media, we think that there's instant gratification.
Yes.
These big brands are built overnight. She has been slow and steady with her brand. And I really wanted to dig into her story because she's been in the game for a long time, and she's really opened the doors for all of the hair care brands that we're seeing out on the shelves right now.
So let's talk about embracing authenticity. Authenticity is really key. Not only do people want to know your why, they want to know that they can trust you. They want to know that you're, like the girl next door, that they can really relate to you. So being authentic is really, really important. And what I love about this documentary is in every single woman, in every single one of their businesses, heritage shines through. Heritage shines through absolutely massively, and I love that. It makes me proud. It makes me proud to be sit here to be a black woman. It makes me proud of all the black women. It makes me proud of us. It just fills me up, literally, with love. And it's really funny. Sometimes products and services made by black women, some people can feel like they're only for black women, which is not the case. Our heritage is become a multicultural umbrella. As a people, we're mixed with so many other cultures that makes up the black culture. It's not just about being black culture. Black culture is bigger than culture. It's a way of life. You're encompassing so many mixes from around the world into your own self. And within your own self, you stand out within your own right for that. And under that title is what some of us identify with in terms of being black women. But the heritage shines through. Whether that heritage is, recipes and understanding all the different herbs that there are in Africa and making a product that's for our skin, that's for all skin types. That heritage of really understanding, like, roots up, that heritage of adversity, that heritage of going from where we could be 400 years to where we are now, and by strength, we just keep growing and getting better and better and better. That heritage that connects us together with food, with music, that heritage that brings us together of just being able to be colourful, be different, being able to express ourselves and know that it's okay. It's just beautiful. The heritage that shines through in every single business, to me, in this documentary, is what makes us shine as a people. And for any of you that started a business and it's based on your heritage, it's based on your culture, it's based on the story of actually where you come from culturally, not just within yourself, that's what gives you the advantage. That's what actually makes you different. When we're watching all those Shark Tank shows or Dragon's Den here in the UK or Apprentice, all those entrepreneurial types of shows, the number one question is, what makes you stand out? What's your unique selling point? Ladies, you're your unique selling point, your heritage. Many of us have got products that derive from, generations of history or things being passed down that's actually a part of us. It's a part of world history. It's not just a part of us, it's also a part of wider audiences. And I've spoken about this before in previous podcasts. A lot of most industries at the top, within this documentary, there's a lot about hair and makeup and beauty products specifically. And those are at the top are not women, and they're definitely not black women. Okay. It's a very, very small number. These marketplaces are dominated by men. So our advantage of starting businesses and becoming self-made is the fact that we understand our audience, because what we've got in common with our audience is the heritage. Black culture is pop culture, and it opens up a bigger conversation because our culture is embraced and inspired by many others, many that just aren't black. So the fact that we can lead by heritage is just such a huge advantage, and you really want to use that advantage. You really want to use that to your advantage, And, I think we need to understand the power that we've got, because sometimes I don't think that we really, truly understand it. Yeah, we are a representation of our end user. You are a representation. No one's going to know your audience better than you, because you can actually connect with them. And we've got to start using that. If I was to give you any advice in branding, it's when we're choosing our audience to be laser focused, and you're going to go for that specific niche audience, because you'll be heard. But it spirals down and it has a wave effect out because, like I said, a lot of our heritage of Black culture is pop culture. Let's take a look.
We've heard all of the stats. Black women are building businesses in this country 10 times the national average, but I wanted to go deeper into how we're doing it, how we're building these brands and legacies. And I wanted to show an honest look at some of the obstacles that we face as Black women, as well as some of the opportunities that are available to us as Black women. I never knew what the shelf life, so to speak, would be on it. We started sharing the sneak peek in 2017. This is almost 3 years later, and I'm still getting requests for screening events. And so it's beautiful to see that these stories are timeless, and that they continue to resonate with women across the country. Going to Ghana, it hit me that, wow, 99% of the population here is Black. So they are not coming into this with the same baggage, if you will, that we would come into something as African Americans. And when we were watching the film, I realized how many times we were defining ourselves as Black women, as African American women. And I was cringing because I was like, is this going to resonate with them? Do they feel like women in America, Black women in America, are using this label like as a crutch because we're talking about it so much? And during the talk back, I shared that concern and they were like, no, we get it. We couldn't imagine what it's like being in a place where you're the minority, you know? So then we talked about things like funding, and we talked about, you know, the other obstacles that we face as women. You know, it just, if you take off the label Black women, just as women entrepreneurs, period. And I walked away realizing that, wow, we have way more in common than not. And I want this film and any other work that I do to be an opportunity to like create a bridge between us, because we need each other, you know, just from America to Ghana and any other African country, we need to be supporting each other.
So another important part about She Did That really resonated with me is the fact that we know how to build communities. Have you heard that expression, it takes a village to raise a child? And I think many of us have grown up in that type of environment. And building a community actually comes really naturally to us. But I think once you put technology and the digital realm into it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, out of my comfort zone, or I can't do that. How am I going to do that? How am I going to set up all my recording equipment? How am I going to put this together? You know, technology starts to become the blocker, when actually we innately know as women how to build communities. It's what we do, and we do it really well. And again, when I watched the documentary, it just showed me how important community is. And I think especially in the UK, we definitely tend to keep ourselves together more to ourselves as a people. We definitely are more, you know, in our own heads. And watching that documentary and watching the Americans create their own communities and have that sisterhood and be able to work with one another and rise one another up, it just made me feel like this is what we need to be doing in other parts of the world more. You know, we need to be replicating that. We need to be building our own communities. Don't be afraid to have partnerships. Just remember to make sure you keep your objective in mind, because sometimes it's quite easy to go off tangent. But we know how to build communities. We did it without technology. We just need to learn how to take what we used to do in a village, in a town. You know, I definitely grew up where my mum would rely on, you know, other friends, other family members. They, you know, some would look after us all. I remember, like, we'd all share a birthday. Like, your birthday could be in June. You know, one of your cousins might be in April, one might be in October, and somehow they'd pick a date and you would share a birthday. You was a community. Everything was inclusive. I remember going to family gatherings like every single week. Whether you argued, you fought, you know, you was getting on like a house on fire, you was always together. You always knew there was a group of people within your family and within your wider community of where you live that would support and help and make sure that, you know, we're all okay. There was almost like a code growing up. You know, my early part of my growing up, I grew up on a council estate. There was a community. A council estate is similar to the projects in America. There was a community there. Everybody helped one another. So we know how to build communities. It's just about translating that and doing that through technology. And I think once you've gotten over that fear, that's when, you know, you'll go clear. But the community side of really understanding how to build a community and do that through online, through the storytelling, and create a really big brand, They smash it. Let's take a look.
There are going to be obstacles. There are going to be challenges, and it's not an easy journey at all. Like, by no means is entrepreneurship easy, but it can be done, and it's really the best way for us to build like legacy and wealth in our community. Just building our own brands and being self-sufficient.
Yeah. It starts with women. It starts with women because women are educating the children. They're the first teachers of our children. So if we're going to advance a community, that seems like the way to do it.
And I was realizing that there were so many different women around me doing this amazing work and not really getting a lot of recognition for it. So I created this space online for everyday women who were building brands and legacies to tell their stories, to share, the challenges that they were facing, to share their wins in hopes of inspiring someone else who wanted to walk in their shoes, which is why I called it In Her Shoes.
So Renee really built a platform, and this documentary, what she's done is she's now highlighted that platform to really showcase what Black women are doing, the problems that we go through. Yet again, that funding conversation came up. Every woman on there, even though we're on the other side of the water and this is in America, again, we are not a part of the conversation. We are not in the boardroom when it comes to funding and investment. It is being made to be really difficult for us as a group of people. Okay? And what just really bugs me, if you want me to be honest, I'm trying to find the words, but I'll just say it as it is. What really bugs me is we are the group that's starting the businesses at the fastest rate. We are supporting economies globally around the world where we are. Yet, when it comes to funding, when it comes to getting help, when it comes to even having mentors that we can connect with and being available to us, even outside of funding, it's not, a lot of times it's not there. And that's why communities like Women in Digital Business are so important. When you don't know something, you don't know. When you know, you know. And I feel like it's my job to make sure that I'm sharing everything that I've been through that, didn't go the right way, or, it could have been done a better way, or I didn't know particular things. I didn't have that strategy to be able to actually share that with you and say, hey, these are the things you need to avoid. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to be focused on. Because I don't want to be here in the UK by myself. I want to build a community. So if you have got a business, you've got a side hustle, whether you're struggling or you're doing well and you want to share things, please drop it in the comment. It's really important that we too start building communities. And this community is about celebrating online businesses that give us freedom and flexibility, which means we can connect with people more and we can just serve our communities that we form a lot more. So Renee, thank you so much for creating a platform, not just within the documentary, but also digitally. If you follow Renee and you follow the women that's on She Did That, you will see that they're building a platform to be able to rise all of us up. So let's come together. Let's start building communities. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you come into our community. You start talking to the other women. You start looking at opportunities, learning about strategy, and all the things that come up on these podcasts. We actually put it together in some type of strategy that works specifically for you. When I say some type, it's kind of like I'm saying, throw away some type of strategy. No one's strategy is ever going to be the same, ladies. You can't follow what someone's going to say as a framework and say it worked for me, it's going to work for you. It's not true. We are all different. We've all got differences, and you want to celebrate those differences. They're what make you different. They're what make you special. So coming into our community is about finding a strategy for you that's going to work so you can elevate yourself, and then you can start elevating other women. If we start elevating one another, we too start to build really big communities where we can influence one another, and then the more powerful we become, it's the more influence that we have on our own communities and beyond. Okay? It's been a pleasure. It really has. Please do try and check out She Did That. It really is inspiring to watch a documentary of how well we've done. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be focusing more on women that have just started out and got to that point of, okay, I'm not sideline hustle. Okay, I can pay all my bills. I can start saving money, and they're on that road to actually scaling. Just so you can see what it's like on all levels. But all of these stories that you see, these women have come from places of just starting out either in their kitchen, starting out while working full time, not knowing nothing about what they're going into, but having a passion or some type of gift and having to figure it out, not being necessarily educated, going to university and just, leaving school. All of the people that we feature on this podcast have all come from a place where they are self-made. They've had to make nothing out of something, and they've got there, and we're going to get there together as well. Thanks for listening.